Good morning, welcome to Headline Focus here live on Core Politics with me, Rob Double. It's the start of the week, Monday the 6th of November 2017. Let's have a look at what's making the news. So there's one big story in the papers today. Let's hold on that for a second, have a look at what else is there. So let's start with the Times. The health service in the UK is being brought into the digital age. This is as millions of NHS patients will be offered the chance to consult family doctors around the clock by smartphone as the first virtual GP goes live. Now this is a deal specifically between an NHS surgery in Fulham and in West London and a company called Babylon, who's a technology company that offers smartphone GP consultations, usually to private patients, but they're being contracted by this surgery. And the idea behind it is it's going to cut the time that it takes to see a GP professional to a matter of hours rather than days and weeks, which it currently is, having to see someone face-to-face. There is concern about it, particularly with regards to who actually is then going to be seen in real life by GPs as opposed to this virtual technology, but certainly many are hailing it as a step forward for the NHS into the 21st century. Next up then in the Telegraph, now again, following the Westminster sexual harassment scandals, which is happening. Still more news on this. Home Secretary Amber Rudd said yesterday that more ministers are likely to be sacked over the scandal and the revelations that have come about because of it, saying that Westminster is at a watershed moment and she expected to see a clearing out of MPs and government ministers that have been doing wrong. Damien Green, of course, was alleged over the weekend to have had extreme pornography on his work computers. He strongly denies that, saying this is all a smear campaign. This is by a former police officer who was investigating, doing investigations in Westminster, I should say, previously. So that's, again, a bit of an unclear area there, but certainly there's more coming out, and the expectation from both, or in fact all parties in Westminster, is that more will be coming out in the coming days and indeed weeks. Let's look in focus at the main story, which is dominating the headlines today, which is the Paradise Papers. Now, if you haven't heard of that phrase, you're going to get to know it pretty well. It's probably going to be dominating the week's agenda. £10 million of the Queen's private money was invested offshore. Now, she's just one subject that has come out of this investigation, but we're running with that today because that's what's leading on most of the papers. Now, she invested private funds in offshore funds such as in the Cayman Islands and in Bermuda, and the funds were managed by the Duchy of Lancaster, which is responsible for managing the Queen's private wealth. No illegal activity has been alleged so far, I should say, but the problem really stems from the idea of, sort of ethics, the idea of moving money overseas and whether it's the right thing to do. Over transparency, and particularly scrutiny of royal spending and whether people should be more aware of what's going on, particularly with the royal family wealth. There's also another problem which The Guardian is also leading with. As you can see, their Queen's cash invested in controversial retailer accused of exploiting the poor. Now, that retailer is BrightHouse, which has been criticised, The Guardian is reporting, for exploiting thousands of poor families and vulnerable people. As you can see in the Mail, again leading with this story, royal officials are being quoted in there saying that they were not aware of any tax advantages and the Queen has no direct involvements in her estate's investments. It should be said as well, there are no visible, or at least no one is suggesting that there are tax efficiencies or any reason that what the Queen was doing and the Queen's funds were doing was in any way avoiding tax. One more story comes from Texas, over across the pond, as you can see, the Metro massacre at church. More than 24 people have been killed, with over 30 wounded as a gunman opened fire at a morning church service in Sutherland Springs, Texas. The suspected gunman was later found in a vehicle some miles away. Police identified him only as a young white male, but the US media has subsequently named him as Devin Patrick Kelly, a 26-year-old who formerly served in the US Air Force before reportedly being court-martialed owing to behaviour which was unacceptable. That's pretty much it. You're up to date for the start of the week. Don't forget you can find all the latest on what we're doing in the days ahead on our Facebook page and on Twitter right here. But from me and all the team here at Core London, have a fantastic start to your week.